Hello, everyone. This is Jamie Goldstein, intuitive astrologer, and I am just beyond delighted to be here with Dr. Emily Samuels-Ballantyne, and we're here to talk plants and planets and biodynamics, and we're going to weave so much in herbalism, astrology, and just so much more. I wish we were recording the conversation we were having as we were leading into this, because just so much inspiration was coming through. And Emily is from Magical Farms, Tasmania. She's this beautiful, wise woman. She's an herbalist. She works with plants. She grows plants. She has a doctorate in ecological philosophy, with her writing with Magical Farms Tasmania. I love, you were telling me your pen name, Dr. Demeter, which I just love if you know your mythology and astrology. And we're gonna weave so much in today. And so I just wanted to open up the space, Emily, for you to just say hi, bring in anything that I missed about introducing yourself that feels important to share with everyone that's here today. And yeah, just anything else you want to bring through now.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Jamie. I wanted to just acknowledge the Malakidi people. That's the country that I'm on, and I'm in Tasmania, which is Lutruwita, and the Tasmanian Aboriginal people have been here well over 65,000 years, and it's more of a like leading into this woven conversation, you could say. I just wanted to express my gratitude to so many teachers in my life, that have, I mean, the PhD is one thing, and diving into lots of books and philosophy and theory, but really in that practice space, when exploring ecological philosophy, it's about practice, and the activists, the herbalists, the astrologists, the biodynamics teachers. There's so many wise ones in my life, First Nations people, artists, and I'm just wanted to be big. I'm so grateful to all those people that have shared their wisdom with me.
So beautiful. I'm just so excited to be here with you, Emily. And yeah, I think just to start with, what inspired this talk was that weaving of the plants and the planets, really. We were sharing about the seven, the planets, the days of the week, the herbs that are connected to them, the organs, how there's this interconnectedness of the above, the below, the within, the without. And yeah, I just would love to just, perhaps invite you to share on this, how this interconnectedness influences your life.
Sure. So I think that there's realms of philosophy or practice, you could say, that have always incorporated this thinking. So as we will do our kind of dialogue and our weaving together today about these different elements, and it's so magical. It's actually part of ancient cultures, this knowledge that we're sort of bringing forward, and actually, just for me, I am really fresh-eyed with it. Like, it's still so new to me, and I'm so in awe of the magic of the interconnectedness. But there's this grounded knowing that ancient cultures, across all cultures, Egypt, India, Persia, where else? Rome. They all had this, knowledge and connection between sky and earth and the body. And somewhere along the way in modernity, we've become much less connected to these, sacred sort of life systems. And now there's a new consciousness, possibly the age of Aquarius. It's and many other astrological factors that are bringing us back to this. And one of those, I think, those philosophical people that have done a beautiful body of work in this space to bring it forward is in the Rudolf Steiner and anthroposophy philosophy. I would really encourage that. And so it's this genius guy that really had who was talking into a lot of the peasant farmers of Europe where he grew up, and he was seeing their agricultural practices and their connection. And then for me, I really think it's so important, and it's given me that confidence, I suppose, to really come out and share is my connection with First Nations people here in Australia, and seeing how their connection between sky, country, earth, country, and their way of their song lines and their 65,000 years plus. There's so much rigor, like coming from a doctor perspective, in the most like sophisticated culture on the planet, arguably. And so the grounding in that to sort of bring forth this, coupled with Rudolf Steiner and all the ancient cultures of time, I think that there's a really strong proposition for Gaia theory, and for this kind of Gaia theory to inform policy of today, contemporary way of life today. The way forward for us is to engage in a earth systems ethics, in a living systems philosophy across all cultures, across all people, perspectives, left, right. We all have an interconnected connection because we are all on Gaia. And that also stems into, of course, Earth systems law and policy, as I say. And so it's really, on one hand, this beautiful philosophical exploration and the importance of connection to the land and agriculture. But it's also this really serious note around climate change. And it is something to guide, and for us to sort of do this deep listening with all First Nations people around the world, because they have such wisdom too. And then, of course, the people, the teachers in herbalism, in astrology, and all these people who have that understanding of earth systems and that interconnectedness, a way to tune in and do some deep listening.
Oh, I love that. And I just I was like thinking about your chart as you were sharing, and you said it was okay to bring in a little bit of your astrology and this deep devotion that you have to like being the bridge between the sky and the earth and the interconnectedness, and that you were born with a Venus and Virgo star point, and I believe it was actually one of the last, if not the last, Venus and Virgo star point that we had of our lifetime, that now they've like retrograded back into or precessed back into Leo. So now they're the Leo star points. And so, but I love the Virgo being that high priestess, and Virgo being the one that holds that connection between the as above and so below, that's reading the stars and the rhythms of the stars and the rhythms of the earth, and it is that sacred bridge between the two. And you embody that energy so beautifully.
Thank you. One thing I really would love to explore more is
Yeah.
that astronomy part. So the
Mhm.
astrology I've dived in, and the more dialogue I've had with First Nations people and reading that I've done is, and also in biodynamics, is simply being able to look up and read the stars is a is fun. It's something to work towards, but it's, I think, a really important part, because when I'm observing the farm and the colors on the farm, and where the planets are and what colors are in the different seasons and what the planets are doing and the influences those planets have on the 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 colors and the farm is really, I think, something to be excited about.
Oh,
To
well, I love that. And that might be like a beautiful kind of jumping off place on when we were discussing like what do we want to bring through today? And you wrote out this beautiful chart. I could even pull it up at some point of having all the 7 planets and connected to their 7 herbs and the organs and the days of the week. But I love maybe just starting to explore like the connection of the plants and planets, the planets with their plants and that correspondence.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to do that. And I think it's going to be a bit of fun. And I'm sure there's some people that are listening that also have knowledge around this. And it'd be great to, yeah, be in touch and share your wisdom on these matters as well. So maybe we could work down the different planets and sort of go across, and I'll at that same time I'll be able to weave in and explain a little bit about biodynamics as we go, biodynamics practice.
And beautiful. And for
Um,
anyone who like doesn't know what biodynamics is, could you just kind of speak to what that is?
sure. So bio, life, dynamics is dynamic, and that is that connection between, and this is a Rudolf Steiner, he developed it's the agricultural lectures of 1924 where biodynamics was conceived, so 100 years ago to this year. And on Magical Farm we ran a centenary event here with Biodynamics Tasmania, and we were very, very honoured to have Yuli Herter from the Goetheneum from Switzerland come onto the land and yeah, be in dialogue with a lot of Tasmanian farmers, and also a beautiful First Nations man, Jason Andrew Smith, who does cultural burning. And one of the most beautiful things about that event was this dialogue between this biodynamics expert, Yuli, and who's so well read and in Steiner's work and from Europe, and really a spiritual science guy, connected in dialogue with Jason Andrew Smith, First Nations man, also like so connected to country, a spiritual guy, and they were speaking the same language of Earth systems, and everyone has that role. We all have that connection. We all have that innate connection to Gaia. And that is also grounded in the theory, not just of Gaia theory, which was conceived by James Lovelock and Lynn McGillis, who's an evolutionary biologist from the US, a beautiful woman. But it's also connected to the theory of biophilia, which is we all have this innate connection to nature. We just got to tap in. And so it is possible we all can have that connection. It's all there. Our ancestors were connected to stars and country. It's only until modernity and empire where we became more disconnected from nature, and that's a whole nother sort of dark history. But we're all plant people. We're all connected to the stars, star people within us, within our DNA.
Mm, I love that.
So,
Yeah.
so biodynamics, sorry to say, yes, I've gone off on a tangent,
I love
is
it.
an agricultural, because it's as you say, Neptune, we're going off into the interconnectedness a lot, but it's an agricultural practice, and it brings in, it's quite simple. It's cyclical. There's times to put preps out, and the preps are made from particular herbs, and we do really interesting stirs with the spiral. There's a lot of sacred geometry, and we work with the soil and the atmosphere, cosmos, to bring energies from the cosmos into the soil. And really, there's something here, and as I say, that connection with First Nations people, and that being so blessed to meet Yuli on the farm this year, is our responsibility as this cosmological, being in that cosmological dialogue through the agricultural practice is somehow, and I still don't know the significance quite yet of it, but we're supporting Mother Earth to be well through these practices, because we're working with the atmosphere, we're working with the cosmos through this agricultural practice, and we're bringing good energies down into our soil and vibrant life force for the food. But yeah, that's it.
Wow, getting
There's so
chills
much to say.
as you're talking, and anyone who's wondering, like, what is Emily's chart? Because you really have this beautiful, like, visionary perspective, and then bringing it like down and into the earth and rooting it. And you have this, not only are you a Capricorn sun, but in Capricorn is the sign of the wise woman. I mean, Capricorn is very much connected to the medicine woman, the medicine people, plant medicine, being a steward of the earth, caring for the earth, um, and community, and having that perspective of caring for in a way that will benefit the next 7 generations. That's very much under like the Capricorn mysteries. And not only do you have your Capricorn sun, but you have this really expansive, visionary, like not only big picture, but going up into the stars and bringing it down and in with this Jupiter, Neptune, Mercury conjunction, all there together, and Capricorn, and also a Pisces rising. So this, this dreamer, this visionary energy, but that Capricorn, to me, it's like that Capricorn, Jupiter, Neptune, Mercury conjunction that you have, that just kind of expand out into the stars, and then bring that wisdom down and in and root it. And it's really, really powerful and really beautiful. And I was getting chills as you were sharing. And yeah, I'd love, so let's just maybe start to jump into the planets and all the connections you want to bring in.
Sure. And I'm looking forward to this. So the moon. The moon is connected to it's not so much a herb, but it's used in medicinal herbalism. It's oak bark. And oak bark is really beneficial for arthritis and colds and fever. And it's also in a chemical constituency. It's 77% calcium. And the oak bark preparation is the 505. So in the biodynamic preps, there's 500, 501, 502, 503, 504, 505, 506, 507, and 508. So we're starting with 505, and this preparation is all about bringing it's about making the soil kind of well, in a sense of if there's some kind of disease with the plant or the soil, the 505 can really work to bring that balance to, if you spray it, but it's also inoculated into a compost pile as well. So the stir is something that we do in a spiral like this. So you put the herb in, the preparation in, and we stir, and we bring that life force in. And then we create chaos, and we go back the other way like this. And what happens to the water? It goes silky. It changes when the preparation is put in. But the moon is, here we go, it's connected, the organ that it's connected to is the reproductive system. And in astrology, it's linked to emotions and the motherly instincts. But maybe if there's too much watery emotions, and I'm talking sort of in that imbalance, the darker side. So the 505 could be linked more to this, maybe it's the wateriness within the plant and it needs that rebalance with the oak bark, which is dry, right? Like it's a dry kind of, the moon's very watery. So yeah. And the moon is linked to Monday. So it's very interesting. We start to sort of, and guess what the sun's linked to? Sunday. But we'll go into that in a bit more, but each one. But
Well, I love this. And have you ever heard of like working with like maybe like making an oak bark tincture to like work with ourselves if we're wanting to maybe increase our lunar energy or support something with the moon?
mm, I haven't so much, but I would theorize that it could well be something. You can make tinctures from oak bark. And maybe there's something in that. And maybe there's something in us all experimenting with these sorts of things and observing. And that's certainly something that I'm on a journey of doing. Not so much with oak bark, but I am experimenting with some of the other herbs. For instance, with yarrow and stinging nettle and their connections with Mars and Venus, which we'll get to.
Yeah, I love that. And this is like just the bark of like an oak tree.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Maybe even, I mean,
Mm.
as you're sharing, I'm just like inspired to, if you have oak trees that grow where you live, like even and maybe just resting your back, sitting on the ground and resting your back against an oak tree, and perhaps how that could even open up our lunar energy or amplify or increase our lunar energy in some sense, just through that simple resting against the back of an oak tree.
Yeah, I think that there's something with the moon being quite sort of watery and it's changing, it's cyclical. There's something so strong about an oak tree and how grounded in it is,
Yeah.
and so beautiful feminine presence of the oak tree. Yeah, it's all plants have a connection to different planets, by the way. So that's something else we can also explore. I mean, Steiner has proposed these herbs, but there's a really beautiful American woman, Tess Whitehurst, who has got some great books on the magic of flowers and the magic of trees. And she's based a lot of her work on a fellow called Scott Cunningham, who's, I think, also an American man. So there's a lot of research there of and wise knowledge around how plants are connected to planets. And of course, is it Saja Popham, the evolutionary
Yeah,
herbalism?
evolutionary herbalism. Yeah, over here in Oregon where I'm at.
Yeah, so there's lots of wise ones out there, and it just so happens that Rudolf Steiner has, and these were the plants the European farmers were working with. So that's something that we also need to look at is the Australian plants equivalents and explore biodynamics in that deeper way into this 21st century and beyond time.
I love that. And it's fascinating too, because like you said, every planet has that correspondence to, or every plant has a correspondence to a planet, but vice versa. Could go in either direction. If there's a plant that you love, like even a particular maybe herbal tea, or
Yeah.
even if you just have a favorite flower or a favorite plant to like, and you can just even just do on a search on the internet and find these things, like look up and see what planet they correspond with. And sometimes you'd be amazed. Like sometimes maybe that's like one of the strongest planetary signatures in your astrology chart. Maybe it's like the ruling planet of your ascendant, or maybe it might be a planet that I don't like to categorize things as like strong or weak or good or bad in an astrology chart. Like it all just is. But maybe there's a planetary energy that's just not as like embodied within yourself and your energy field. And maybe you have a draw to that plant because it helps like bring out that energetic within you. I mean, who knows? Or you might even find, I mean, for myself, I find I'll be drawn to like different herbal teas just at different times in my life based on what's going on. And I'm always amazed sometimes when I look up the planetary connection. It's like that planet and that plant, which is holding the energy of that planet. It's like I'll call on the different medicine that I need in my life, and I'll feel that intuitive. Like I'll just start drinking this herbal tea, and it has some type of
Mhm.
healing medicine for me. And when I start looking at the astrology, like seeing the connections, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And I think that the beautiful thing with biodynamics is, or herbalism, whatever, or astrology, whatever sort of way in we go, the practice of this observation and connecting and tuning in and observing this phenomenological practice that you're describing of observing and trusting ourselves is that biophilia that we're talking about, and that interconnectedness with Gaia that we're talking about. It's very grounded in rational theory of this phenomenological way of living, this interconnected way of living.
I love that. So
Mm.
yeah, let's see, which planet do we have next? I'm
So
excited.
we have Mars,
Mm.
and Mars is linked to one of my favorite herbs, stinging nettle. And well, I have European heritage, but I also have Canadian heritage. And stinging nettle is popular in both of those places. I've got some kind of, yeah, connection with stinging nettle in that way. And it's connected to the organ of the heart. And of course, in astrology, it's about strength. And you go here. What is Mars in
Yeah,
astrology? Yeah.
Mars can, it's that outward flow of our vitality, our vital life force energy, assertion, strength. That can be that courage, that yeah, it's that vital energy.
And so it's very appropriate, really, that stinging nettle is the plant that's correlated with Mars because
Yeah,
it's
and
got
and
this
Mars connects with
vitality.
anything that kind of like, pokes or punctures. Like, I mean, that is, Mars is even, rules acupuncture, like, and
Mm.
surgeons. So I love that connection too with the stinging nettle.
And so it's really good in biodynamics for connecting. It's bringing the nitrogen, healthy decomposition of the compost. So ensuring that the breakdown of the compost is done in a balanced way. I found after having babies, stinging nettle, I was out of condition. I had lines in my tongue. I was very dehydrated. I had kidney depletion. The kidney support for the stinging nettle, and when you're breastfeeding, all those trace minerals are kind of sucked out of you, really, because the baby's taking it all. Stinging nettle was my best friend
I
in
love that
in
you
after
shared that to me
childhood.
because I'm currently a breastfeeding mama, and
Yeah.
I'm going to start integrating that into my daily life to support that replenishing myself. And I love that you shared too before we were filming about how it supports the kidneys. And I
Mm,
love, Venus rules the kidneys and medical astrology, but like Mars is Venus's support. Like Mars is
mm,
the one that like protects and supports Venus. So I love that support and protection to the kidneys.
mm. Yeah, that there's this really strong connection between Mars and Venus in the herbal space too, because some people argue, and maybe, I mean, we're working down the list that I put together, but maybe we move on to Venus now, because yarrow, there's arguments in the herbalist and astrology space that yarrow is also connected to Mars. And so maybe this is the interesting the connection you just drew then is the connection. So yeah, as of course, because it's biodynamics, it's not linear, it's not sort of stationary that Mars is sticky nettle and the heart. It's not like this because it's process, it's movement, it's and like the astrology chart, of course, there's the conjunctions, the squares, the trines, there's all these interconnectednesses. So Venus is, we're moving on to Friday now. We've gone from Tuesday from Mars. Now we're on Friday, and then we can skip back in our biodynamic kind of conversation. But yarrow is linked to the kidneys and planet Venus. Yarrow, I love her. I'm going to show you some yarrow. Um, just picked fresh from the farm this morning.
Oh,
And she has been, even when Venus was underworld, the yarrow was still there. So that was interesting. Like a lot of it had died back, but there was still this reminder of Venus in my garden. And I'm so grateful to yarrow. Yarrow is like in biodynamics, it's about in helping the soil with the sulfur and the movement and the plants moving sulfur around. And in herbalism, it's the same. It's used as an overall well-being plant, but has phenomenal magical properties. Like people in wartime or in any time when they've had a cut, you put yarrow on a wound and it heals the wound. You do a poultice, so you chew on yarrow and then you just throw it on the wound and it can heal.
that's
But
Venus
it's also,
healing Mars coming back from war.
yeah,
I love
beautiful.
that. Mm.
Yeah, amazing, hey? Yeah,
And
it is so. It
Yara
really.
has that soft, like to me, that beautiful, like soft feminine energy of yarrow and how that energy is so healing. I love that.
Yeah, it's such an elegant plant.
It
And
looks so Venusian.
yeah, and there's so much to it, like these little leaves, like arteries. There's a sort of but also it's the Achilles. Achilles is the botanical name. So the tendons, the sinews, um, I think there's something in that as well, like the healing of the all of those softer parts of the body, maybe.
I love that.
Um, and so that's the 502 preparation in biodynamics. And something that I'm experimenting with as things are emergent and as I think we are in this place of experimentation. I'm fascinated in how we can do stirs. There's traditional ways to do biodynamics, but I like to sort of go outside of those traditional ways and use the preps as just general, like I was running a social event and I wanted there to be some real love energy around on the farm. So I put the yarrow preparation into the bucket, did the stir, but it's about 20 minutes. And then I just spread it out. And you actually spread it out. I actually, funnily enough, I've got in my vase now, I have wattle. So Julia Yelton from Biodynamics Tasmania, she uses this. So people say, oh yeah, you just spread it out with your hands, but she uses a branch to spread the preparation out onto the farm.
Mm.
And so I use wattle as my preferred spreader spraying across the farm. So a lot of people would look at it from the outside and say, what are they doing? But these ancient practices, and it's the proof's in the pudding. Something magical is happening at Magical Farm, I can say. The vitality, um, there's an energy, there's a sparkle there's here that wasn't here. And that's an observation from neighbors, and it benefits the neighbors.
Right, and that's that interconnectedness, and we shift energy and within ourselves, within our land. And you said that affects the neighbors, right? It like ripples out to everyone around us.
That's it. And I think in this Venus, there's a lot of, both of us, of course, have been, we're very interested in tuning into Venus. And I think that's actually a practice to really, it's embodiment within ourselves, but there's actually an agricultural practice to tune Venus in to the land. And like what Yuli Herta said, we're cosmic politicians. We bring forth, we're supporting through the storytelling, but we're also practicing and supporting the planet to heal and evolve the way it needs to.
I love that.
So should we go back to chamomile
I
and
love that. And
Mercury?
I can see my chamomile plant that's been just really thriving in the soil here where I live, and all the little chamomile flowers are just like bursting down. It makes me so happy. It's one of my favorite plants. And I actually did not know who it's connected to that you're about to share with us. So I love that.
And I wonder whether Mercury, planet Mercury in your life is doing something significant in your chart at the moment.
Yeah,
And
well,
just
Neptune,
saying,
like exactly on my Mercury. So I am like, whoa. I mean, I definitely I think that chamomile is doing some Mercury support for me with Neptune right there. And I love, like, as we were sharing, when you mentioned that the connection between Mercury and chamomile, it makes so much sense, right? Because we all I mean, it's such a common herbal tea to drink, like when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling anxious, when your mind is like running and you just want to kind of like soothe your mind and soothe your nervous system, like grab a cup of chamomile tea, because Mercury is, rules our nervous system, and chamomile calms the nervous system, and Mercury rules our mind. And when our mind is spinning, that's when we get anxious, and Mercury connects to anxiety and the mind kind of looping. And so that I love, it makes so much sense that chamomile is connected to Mercury, and offers like, really it offers like it's interesting. It offers very much like a balance to the Mercury energy. If we're a little out of balance with Mercury, like with the mind spinning and the anxiety and the nervous system on overdrive, like the chamomile, it seems like it brings a balance to the mercurial energy, maybe then
maybe,
like expanding it or amplifying it. I don't know. I mean, I'm just sharing as I'm like thinking, and this is
that
not
maybe in
my
Mercury
expertise.
retrograde, like now, it's a good tea to drink as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, and it's linked to the day Wednesday. And yeah, of course, as you were saying, in astrology, it's about communication. I find that chamomile just pops up where it wants, like around the farm. It just sort of, the seeds spread. This is actually really interesting. In the circle that we've created for dialogue, it's the sacred circle on Magical Farm. Chamomile has just started to grow in through the stones on the social space, the convivial space of the farm. And I haven't actually thought about that before, but yeah, it's there communicating in different parts. In biodynamics, it's bringing the calcium to the plants and to the soil. It's a communicator to bring calcium in and to inoculate the calcium. Yeah. And it also has sulfur, which is a communicator as well, like with yarrow.
I love that.
Um, and then there is Jupiter, and Jupiter is connected to dandelion flower, and the herb, so the organ is the liver. So everyone that drinks dandelion tea knows that, of course, dandelion is very good for liver detox, and Jupiter is connected with luck and expansion. But is there a connection there?
Yeah, but Jupiter rules the liver and medical astrology, and right, and even Jupiter, like Jupiter, the planet of expansion, the visionary planet, like living our highest meaning and purpose. But like also Jupiter, is like it can be about like Jupiter can be about like really indulging in life, right? So often, like Jupiter sometimes can be about indulging in sweets and food and alcohol, and all those things have an effect on the liver. So Jupiter definitely has that like connection to the liver. And I even love like dandelion flowers, when you pick one and you blow, it's like very Jupiterian, like Jupiter, that up and out energy, that expansion, even that like idea that you send your wish into the dandelion flower as it spreads off. Like that's very Jupiter, like very dreamy, visionary, hopeful, faith, like wishing. That's all very Jupiterian.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's, I think it's even like blowing it out. It's like you make a wish, right? Like luck.
Yeah.
Such a good connection. There's so much. And that's linked to Thursday. What happened on Thursday? I don't know, but maybe that's also something for us to think about, like everyday life. Everyday life has become so commodified and routine and mechanical. And in this age of Aquarius and this life systems philosophy that we all share, Thursday can be the day of expansion, the day of bringing in that Jupiter energy. And, it's getting towards the end of the week, tired. Disrupt that energy. Come on. Have a cup of dandelion tea or blow on the dandelion flower and bring
Yeah,
that magic in.
Jen, I love that.
And so we've done Venus and Friday and the kidneys and yarrow, the preparation 502. And now we're moving on to Saturn. Saturn is linked to the herb valerian. And valerian in medicinal herbalism is very much for depression, anxiety, insomnia. It's a very calm herb. But for some people, it can also be people can go the other way, like a small number of people. It can actually have a different reaction. And maybe that is linked to something within their astrological chart that it reacts in that way. It's linked to the spleen, the organ of the spleen. And Saturn is linked to Saturday. And in astrology, what would you say? Karma, boundaries, that's what I've put,
Yeah,
but it's more
pattern,
of a
boundary, structure, the discipline, the that diligence. I mean, Saturn is all about grounding, giving things form and structure, and making things solid that we can, one, the structure can be so supportive for us because we need structure, we need integrity. That's what Saturn is about, but also we can bump up against it as well. But Saturn, every planet kind of has medical astrology, a connection to different things where we can be out of balance. And it's not just a like linear, this planet or that planet, there can be overlap, but like Mercury or Uranus can be like connected to like anxiety. Saturn is definitely one of the planets that connects to like depression. So that's very interesting that it's a remedy for depression often.
And in the biodynamics preparations, it's the 507. And what's fascinating about this is you inoculate each of the other herbs into the compost, but for valerian, you spray it over the top of the compost pile.
That
Excuse my
structure.
cough. As a sort of, boundary. And also they say warming to keep that warming in. And if we look at Saturn in the solar system, that's sort of how it is. It's kind of protecting all these inner planets. So, yeah. And
That.
phosphorus is the chemical element that's being activated. And so finally, and excuse my cough, it's my throat chakra, as I've shared. It's me sharing this knowledge and putting it out there
Oh, and you're
for the
doing it
first
so
time.
beautifully,
So,
and in such an
yeah.
inspired way.
Yeah, thank you. And it's just my body kind of, I think, getting used to it and being in that communication role. And I've got another cough coming. So it's just, part of the biodynamics of it all.
Well, I love this. And I don't know if you know, right as we're filming this, we have this beautiful like Venus Mercury conjunction in the sky right now. Mercury just recently went retrograde, and then Venus has come and she's right with Mercury right now in Virgo.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
So
actually
it's,
perfectly trining your Mercury that you have at 4 degrees of Capricorn. Venus is right there with Mercury, making that a beautiful trine. So supporting
yeah.
that communication.
Yeah. And it's so important for my North Node. That's where my North Node is, to be sharing this knowledge and being feeling comfortable, all of those connections being made between and it's there is something I'll share, and that's what I was sharing at before we started to go live, is that I work in that policy space and I work in that space of change in our society as well. And that voice to bring forth this sacred wisdom and it be okay. This is part of the life. These forces are influencing our everyday life, but it's completely not acknowledged in that world. Uh, and this is really normal knowledge. This is not out there knowledge. And my cough's going away. I feel like more relaxed by even just saying that. I just feel a relief to share that it's okay, that this knowledge is part of our life. And the more and more we come to recognize that, the the better our world can become, the regenerative way of life. It comes down to that inner world perspective. And if we had more policymakers that were, now I'm going to cough again, because it's me kind of putting it out there, challenging the system. As soon as I sort of say that, it's the stress on my body. So I need to work on how, in a harmonious way, to integrate and hold within me strong this knowledge is so much of an influence on everything, and how are we to make this knowledge part of truly, it's not just about an acknowledgement to country at the beginning of a ceremony and at the beginning of your policy document. It's really putting those words into practice and investing money back into mother and regeneration to bring about the mitigation, the adaptation that's needed for climate change, all those issues, to stop industrial, cruel farming that's there's regenerative and abundant ways to do farming. And when I say those things, my cough's kind of easing. And
Oh,
that's my boundaries. We're on Saturn. So me sort of going, you know, this is a boundary that I need to set and be strong on this. This is my perspective. And this is an important perspective to hold. It is not a, it's Gaia theory, it's Earth systems ethics, it's linked to Earth systems law for the betterment of people.
and I love, I was thinking as you're sharing, Saturn is like right on your ascendant right now, stationed retrograde right over on your Pisces ascendant, and Saturn being on your ascendant, like calling you into this leadership and this in Pisces, the sacred responsibility that you like, I mean, you can feel it within your bones as you're sharing this like sacred responsibility to the earth, to the next generations to come. And so I feel like Saturn is calling out this leadership within you, because Saturn is very much about leadership as well. And so the wise elder archetype.
Thank you. And it's beautiful today that you're my astrology teacher. I'm so grateful to you, and that we're having this conversation on a Friday, which is Venus Day. Thank you. Coming from the heart, bringing forward the sacred feminine knowledge and holding strong, because it's for our future generations, it's for our children, our planet. And so the sun, the sun, and this is where I'm going to invent this today. I have an invention to propose to everybody here, and that is that in what Steiner didn't allocate a herb to the sun, but in my agricultural kind of experimentation with biodynamics, I'm observing that the 508 preparation, which is horsetail, or in Australia, we use the Casuarina plant, which is exciting that we're using Casuarina because it's a native plant. And that is sort of also an opening to what herbs we can find in this southern hemisphere. So sorry. Me inventing something and putting it out there again. It's like, okay, are you allowed to do this? Yes, you are. So I'm going to hold strong in that Sun Capricorn energy.
Yes.
There's silica. Silica is high content in Casuarina. And so it is something that brings the light into the plants. It makes them have their life force. And that's the sun in astrology, is the vitality and the life force. And that's what the Casuarina offers, or the horsetail offers to the plants, and is definitely working, as the biodynamics practitioners say, with that cosmological energy. So, and it's, yeah, as I say, that linked to Sunday, the sun. And in the medicinal herbalism, I'm not sure. So that's TBA. I don't know whether you can drink horsetail or Casuarina tea. I'm imagining so. It's a Google away to have a look at, maybe. I've tried to find in Tess Whitehurst's book something on horsetail, but I haven't found anything yet. But definitely the sun brings vitality and strength to us, to plants. And Cassarina is a way of a preparation, an agricultural preparation in biodynamics to bring strength and vitality to the plants. So I want to propose that, yeah, there's an alignment between the sun and Cassarina / horsetail plant today and the 508 preparation.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all interconnected.
So that is really everything. We've covered off the whole chart. This is the
Yeah, I love that. Do you want me to share for a moment? I have the chart I can, oh, here we go. I can share the screen for a moment just so everyone can kind of tune in here later, and you want to put a screenshot and come back and look at this. I love the my Virgo South Node always feels very happy when I see when I see charts and things like laid out and that beautiful flow.
what I might do, Dr. Demeter, that's as you said, like my pen name. I'm very inspired now, thank you, to after this conversation, is to maybe I'll write this all up and I'll put it on my blog on the Magical Farm website. And then I can share that Virgo, and I can indulge as well in the Virgo high priestess knowledge.
I
And
love that. And if you just send me a link to it, I'll just put it in the description of this video here so everyone can just kind of click and find it.
yeah, that sounds really good.
Well, and
Thank
that's
you.
a beautiful kind of, is there, anything, where can people find you? And, any other, and just any other like offerings that you want to offer in this space? Like if there's, it sounds like you have a blog. I need to get on like, do you have a mailing list for your blog? I need to get on that.
Yeah, so actually it's all emergent, but I do have a website, I do have a blog. I practice, I'm a biodynamics practitioner with Biodynamics Tasmania, but you can follow me on Magical Farm Tasmania Instagram page. And I have a website. I run lots of convivial and social events. I love to bring people together to learn about biodynamics, soil, herbs. So I have a herbal workshop coming up, which is in Tasmania. But over time, as I say, it's quite emergent how things will happen. And I'm also working in this kind of innovative policy role with Environment Tasmania at the moment. And so, yeah, it's working on the different layers of the living system. And that's sort of everything from the soil, the organs, the community is also a living system, the bioregion. And that's where the sort of policy space is. And yeah, the importance of sort of getting this kind of knowledge happening and patterning into the way policies are being done, and that transparency of the funds, really working at that really management of like good agricultural management of the policy. What I'm trying to say is a lot of money goes into the commodification, and we need to get that money flowing back into communities and flowing back into the soil and life. And there's lots of work to be done in those sorts of regenerative policy making space. And then, of course, it's all connected to Gaia and the cosmos. And there's 7 layers again that I work with. So the farm is one expression of my work. And one day I'm probably more grounded here, and it's a biodynamic herb farm. So I'm going to be selling herbs and having this social space for people to come and on a more kind of regular programmed way. I do have like weekend workshops. I have a spring program. And then, yeah, my work at Environment Tasmania in the bioregion, I think is some energy is going to be going into that over the next 6 months, as well as the farm. It's all sort of I think it's all, well, it's all interconnected really. And it's great to share it this way. Thank you.
I love that. Like you're just one like magical, multi-dimensional medicine woman mama. And I love you have all this like beautiful mutable energy in your chart as well, being like a Pisces ascendant, your lunar nodes are Sag Gemini, that interconnectedness, that mutable magical, integrate things together, shapeshift, magical energy. I love it. I am so inspired by you. And I'm just
Thanks.
curious, like, do you,
Likewise to you.
oh, thank you. Do you have
Mm.
any like, if like perhaps to send anyone here off with inspiration about like, how can they like take something from what you were sharing today and like maybe like a grounded way or a grounded practice that you might have for inspiration about, yeah, maybe just experiencing this interconnectedness of the plants and the planets or anything you feel inspired, like maybe some
I
type of
think,
grounded practice.
sure. I think for me, as I said at the beginning, that there is a lot of theoretical. There's a lot of talk about those wider systems, and even in that environmental space, I suppose in a sense I'm an environmentalist, that there's that overwhelming knowledge that there's an imbalance with climate change. And I would say that the two modalities or three modalities for me that have really struck a chord link to the practice of biodynamics. So working with the soil, working with the cosmos, and then herbalism, because herbalism is connected to biodynamics as well. But medicinal herbalism, we're actually putting the herbs, this is some nettle and yarrow and calendula, we're putting those herbs into our body every day. And as a plant, we are like a plant. We are alive. We're alive. We put those beautiful biodynamic herbs into our body. And then I feel like the way that the Environment Tasmania role came about was it's I'm on purpose and I'm ready to go with my regenerative patterning to sort of bring to people. But I've balanced myself through the herbs, through connection to mother, through biodynamics, and through the sky, through astrology. So dive into a practice. Even if you don't own a farm or a piece of land, you can still practice biodynamics in a community garden or in a pot on your balcony. You can also access herbs at your local apothecary. You can drink those herbs and read about those herbs and tune into wise ones that know about herbalism and astrology and biodynamics and their tangible practices. And I think also it's, of course, read on Gaia theory. Read the book by James Lovelock and Lynn McGillis. I think it's a good one. All of that living systems philosophy. And also one more recommendation is a beautiful book series called the First Knowledges series, which is written by academic Aboriginal practitioners and academics in Australia. And it's 6 books covering song lines, plants, fire, law, design, all these areas and astronomy. That's one of their books. And the book series came out of an exhibition from the National Gallery of Australia. And so the books are really visual and accessible and a beautiful read, and have, I think, been part of that confidence to say, like, this is so serious, this knowledge, to this sacred knowledge, and the importance for regenerating our planet. There's such a connection point there. This is not a tokenistic acknowledgement to country situation. This is acknowledgement and an in-depth understanding we must gather of living in a respectful way and on Mother Earth, on Gaia.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for just coming today and sharing your wisdom, your vision, your inspiration. It's just truly, truly a blessing. And I know that, those that are tuned in to my channel, I feel like are gonna just leave feeling so inspired by listening to you, Emily. You are a true gem, and I'm so grateful to know you. And I really want to go to Magical Farms Tasmania one
I
day.
would love that. Likewise, I'd love to come to Oregon as well.
Oh,
I've
I
yeah.
would love that. Yes. I once had a dream. This is a little bit of a tangent, but I once had a dream. I have so many beautiful sisters that are in Tasmania that I've been connected with through this astrology work. But I once had this dream that I would hop on this magical bus that would just go to Tasmania from where I live here. So I always think about that magical Tasmanian bus to just hop on over and visit y'all.
I've also had a dream that we've had a symposium, and I mentioned it to you. We have some kind of gathering here,
Mm.
and you're here. So
Oh,
blessed.
I would love that. Oh, well, many blessings to you,
Thanks.
to everyone that's watching, to the land, to us all, remembering our interconnectedness with everyone and everything. Well, bye
Thank you.
for now, everyone, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.